All right. Sweet. Well, everybody, welcome to the spring harvest hour of the Food Systems Leadership Network. I'm Susan Lightfoot Schimpf. I'm the executive director, and I'm so delighted to introduce you to our two new Backbone team members, Chelsea Jackson and Alyssa Thayer, who I will be very promptly handing the mic over to here in a second. Really excited for y'all to get to know them and for this to be their sort of debut in facilitating and co-hosting a space of the Food Systems Leadership Network. And I just want to reflect on this moment and celebrate the time and the patience and the perseverance and the work that has gone into arriving in this moment right now. About 2 years ago at this time, we received a set of recommendations from a team of network members called the Evolution Team that set forth a vision for the future of the Food Systems Leadership Network. And y'all have probably heard some about this over the last couple of years. It was a pretty big, bold vision of us spinning out of our previous home within the Wallace Center, becoming independent, launching a network leadership council, hiring a new team, moving to a fiscal sponsor, reactivating our membership, renewing our strategy and our programs, and just a pretty bold vision. And it was an undertaking. And the bringing in of Chelsea and Alyssa into the fold this spring has kind of checked off the last little piece of the vision that they had laid forth 2 years ago. And so this last month, we were all together here in New Orleans with the Food Systems Leadership Network's leadership retreat with Alyssa and Chelsea, with our partners at Regenerate Change. And we were doing some work together, kind of looking out on the area and city park in New Orleans where we were hanging out, and we all saw this alligator all at the same time out in the bayou. And it was so cool. Rev Dele pulled out her phone and pulled up what is the meaning and the significance of an alligator. And it was about strategic patience. And you know how an alligator will sit and wait with just its eyes and its nose out of the water, waiting for capturing the prey in that just the right moment. And it just felt like such a beautiful metaphor for the energy that we have held as the FSLN over the last couple of years of this strategic patience. So really appreciate having that gator in the mix. Here we're bringing gator energy. They are active in the spring here in Louisiana. So we've been having lots of gator energy down here. And so just wanted to, have that celebrated moment. These pictures you can see, we were joining together in my garden in my backyard here. We spent some time over at Grodat Youth Farm together, and it was a really beautiful experience in community with the core leadership of this network. So it is my absolute delight to now hand over the mic to Alyssa and Chelsea to carry us through this harvest hour today. So take it away, ladies.
Thanks, Susan. I am very excited to be here with you all today and, for this moment for the FSLN and also specifically for this seasonal space, this spring harvest hour. So, just celebrating and excited to be here and meet you all. And, this space is really about connecting. It's about strengthening our relationship with each other and, really hearing what's going on with the network. So, we're really excited to meet you all, to have you have a chance to learn a little bit about Chelsea and I. And we're hoping to keep things a little casual. So think, sitting on the porch, drinking iced tea together. If you are excited about something, have a question about something, we welcome you to raise your hand, to jump in the chat. And we want to make it interactive. Today's theme that we chose is new growth and deep roots. And it's really about celebrating what's emerging, but as really a continuation of the roots and the wisdom and the experiences that brought us here. And that's both for the FSLN as a network, but also as us individually. Chelsea and I are brand new here, but we're also bringing with us all of our experiences that we have from wherever we've come from. So we'll share a bit about that with you. We'll also be sharing the space with Adam Brock from Regenerate Change, who will be talking to us a little bit about how we're tapping intentionally into that wisdom and the roots and the people who have made this network what they are to really kind of design and co-create what's ahead. We're going to give you a chance to reflect and connect with some of these themes, and then we'll share a little bit about, what's ahead and how to plug into the network at large. The first thing we want to do, we have our cultural agreements on the screen, is just really take a moment. These have been a part of the work for a number of years now, and they hold us really well. And they help us show up as individuals in the space and really intentionally create a space to truly support the values and the mission of the work. The one I want to bring to our attention, we want to encourage you to pick one to really channel this evening that you feel called to, but I also want to lift up the one of meeting each other where we are. Showing up is enough and listening is participating. I think this one is great always, but I think that is especially true in this moment. And there are just so many ways that we want to meet each other where we are. There's difficult times right now and a lot of transition. Some of us are new to this space. Some of us are have been here for a while. And there's a lot of demands on our time and our energy. So just the fact that we're all here together in this space, showing up, wanting to interact and everything, we also want to just take some time to appreciate everyone for making the time, making the space. Because that's a feat unto itself. So let's go ahead and get started and let's meet each other. We are going to warm up the chat and I'm going to hand it over to Chelsea.
Thank you, Alyssa. Welcome, everyone. We would like to take this time for each of you to introduce yourself, name, geography, and a sign of the season where you are. So please feel free to go ahead and start putting those introductions in the chat. I'll go ahead and name actually two signs of the season. One happened last night, and we had a termite swarm. So like that is a season or like a sign of spring, especially after a big rainstorm in Louisiana. The termite showed up and it looked on a radar like a storm was coming through. So all lights off and everyone bunker down. And then a more beautiful and positive sign is right outside this window, we have magnolias blooming. So just how there's so many different signs, and some signs we appreciate and encourage, and then other signs where sometimes like, ooh, we can't wait for can't wait for this part to pass us by. So we're eager to hear from you all. Again, name, where you're calling in from, and what is a sign of the season where you're located. Okay, I'm seeing, oh, and I resonate. Stacia, pollen, that is a sign. And especially if you have allergies, you feel it, you smell it, it hits you as soon as you walk out the door.
Yep. And I'm in Philadelphia and we got those Brooklyn winds today too. So, some of us are geographically close together, some of us are not. As of course, Chelsea and Susan being south of me, everything they're experiencing, or at least some of it, is kind of the preview of what's coming in the northern states. So that's always fun to talk about.
So we would like for you guys to continue to introduce yourselves, interacting with each other in the chat. If you're relating to what someone's saying, giving them a reaction, commenting on their chat response. We want to see that and encourage that. And for the sake of time, we are going to just move along in our presentation. While you guys are still introducing yourself, this is a great time for Alyssa and I to introduce ourselves to you. So we're going to go ahead and give you a little info on who we are and how we will be working within the network and serving each of you. So I will take it away first. Like I said, I am Chelsea Jackson. I will be serving as the outreach and engagement lead. I am based in Louisiana today, and literally will be in Michigan, not exactly tomorrow, but before the end of the month. I will be in Michigan, and so I'll definitely send thoughts, recommendations for any of you calling in from our northern states, and for anyone who has actually experienced winter. I need help. And would love the network support in navigating my first real winter later this year. How did I get here? I started off in toxicology and kind of transitioned from a toxicology background to agricultural science, and then getting a master's in biology. And then after college, moved into produce and food safety. So FSMA, PSR, GAP, like that was my bread and butter, surf safe. So providing direct education and technical assistance to farmers and food producers in Louisiana. And then my last stop before the FSLN was in nutrition incentives. So providing food access resources, so connecting with farmers and helping them with direct to consumer sales, but also ensuring that Louisiana families could access food and local healthy food at that. So you may know me from my last role at Market Umbrella as the director of Grow the Good, or you may have met me. I know some of you on the call, even seeing your names, I knew you when I was at Southern University's Ag Center. So glad that we are reconnecting in this moment. I'm going to be the go-to person for outreach, connection, and member experience. So when you have ideas, if you're wanting to deepen your connection within the FSLN, hone in on resources, as well as if you have resources to share, please connect with me and let's continue to build this network, and ensure that members are really connected. When I'm not working, I have my three F's: family, friends, and football. Like that is really all I have time for outside of my work life. And then my favorite dessert, and I had to put a picture on it because I don't know. I mean, I know Louisiana pedophores are a huge thing with the French um, inclusion and immersion. So pedophores, that is mini wedding cakes. So almond flavor, think of your stepping, it's like just sophistication, also small bites. So love that and wanted to represent that on the screen. And for anyone who has never tried a pedophore, I encourage you to take the leap and go ahead and grab one. So again, thank you all. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Alyssa to give her introduction.
Thanks, Chelsea. I feel like, yeah, you make this cake small. It's even classier. So I'm excited to try it. And I needed that translation. So thank you. Um, so my name's Alyssa Thayer, and I'm based in right outside Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And I love the how I got here. And I've been saying this a lot lately. How I got here is by taking it one step at a time, and who knows what the next thing was. But then when you look back and you see what the common thread is, it's really food and connection. So that's my common thread. I was a farm kid. I grew up running around barefoot, and getting into trouble. And I wove my career and interest through school wellness and youth leadership, food marketing and writing and photography and farmers markets and food access. And you may know me from my most recent position was with the Food Trust, helping to support the network of farmers markets and farm stands. And it was really there that I started being very interested in food systems work and working upstream and trying to find what were the barriers that were happening before we were getting to the farmer's market, or why couldn't we get a farmer to the market? Really trying to figure out, what are the systems problems we could look into. Um, and I'm going to be the go-to person for program ideas and feedback and partnerships. So right now I am on a big learning journey, and I'm excited to meet you all and hear what's been happening and what folks would like to see. My favorite snack, and I put a little picture, is actually popcorn with tamari drizzled over it and then nutritional yeast sprinkled on top. If you've had Bjorn corn, it's basically Bjorn corn, but before there was a Bjorn corn. And my favorite season is fall. I love goldenrod. I love golden hues. I love kind of that dry, starting to be cool sweatshirt weather. So you'll find me happiest in fall. And right now, it is my pleasure to hand it over to Adam as part of Regenerate Change. And Regenerate Change has really been working with the FSLN actually for over a year now, supporting a lot of the transition work as well as the kind of reimagining and activation of our membership work. So I'll hand it over now.
Thanks, Alyssa and Chelsea. It's a pleasure just getting to know those little tidbits about you all and your journeys and the snacks you love. I'm a big popcorn person too, Alyssa. Um, but that's not what we're here to talk about. I'm going to share with you a little bit about a process that some of you might have been involved with over the last 6 months or so that I've been supporting with through my role at Regenerate Change called FSLN's member activation process. And you can see right in the middle of this slide here, there's kind of four main things we were wanting to learn through this process. What makes FSLN unique, right? There's a lot of different food networks. They all do amazing things. So what is so special about FSLN? We also are working on reimagining membership and making it even more meaningful and valuable for folks to sign up as a member of FSLN. And so we were in inquiry about that. Um, Part of the theory that FSLN has is that this is a group that we want folks to feel like they really belong to, that it's not just something you show up to once in a while to learn something, but that you really feel like whether it's a harvest hour or a community of practice or an in-person retreat, that you know when you show up there, you're going to be surrounded by people who really get you and believe in you and see you and support you. So what will it take to get there? And then specifically around programmings, again, we know this is a very turbulent time in our food systems movement. So, what can FSLN do in this moment to really show up for you all? So, those were the things we were asking. We did a bunch of one on one interviews. We had a bunch of people fill out surveys. We did a couple listening sessions, which some of you might have attended. And then we took all of that, put it together, and talked about it for 2 days at our leadership retreat in New Orleans that Susan talked about at the top of this call, where we saw that alligator among many other wonderful activities. And so out of that retreat and out of that feedback that folks shared during that member activation process, we have started to come up with some new exciting directions for where FSLN will be going with regards to membership, with regards to what programs it's going to focus on, how to cultivate belongingness, and so on. So if you want to go to the next slide, this is just a little bit of a sneak peek of some of the things we heard from folks during that listening process, the member activation process, that have really informed some of the things we're thinking about. Obviously, this is just the tip of the iceberg in terms of the really juicy feedback we heard. But we are really excited to do a deep dive with you all around this feedback and what some of its implications are. And towards the end of our time together today, you're going to be hearing that opportunity for doing a deep dive with us, where we're going to share in a lot more detail what we heard from you all as members and some of the decisions we're thinking about going in for the next chapter of FSLN, and give you all a chance to weigh in on those decisions, and to stay involved in kind of the implementation of this next chapter of membership and member leadership and programming and things like that. So yeah, that's what we have in store for you coming up in June. And for now, we're going to come back to this theme of really being rooted so that we can sprout here in our springtime. And we're going to have some fun reflection and small group activities related to that. So I think, Alyssa, do you want to share what we have coming up for that?
Yeah, thank you. So, we love a good metaphor. And if you're a gardener, you know that it looks like everything's dead, and then all of a sudden it pops out of the earth and it unfurls and creates something new. And so that's something amazing. And what that it comes from is those roots. It comes from everything that's actually happening under the surface and supporting that plant. And so that's happening at the network level, as you're hearing. And that's also happening for us as individuals and in our individual organizations. So what we want to do is bring this to our individual level, and think about what is beginning. I'm sorry, we have two versions of this prompt, so I'm going to read it and then I will change it on the screen. So you listen up, and then we'll change it on the screen, which is what's beginning to come to life for you right now. So what's beginning to come to life for you right now, and what past experience, value, or piece of wisdom might be helping to change that? And I'm going to switch out that language right now. So I apologize. It didn't paste the way we were maybe thinking it would. Um, So yes, I don't know, Chelsea, which version you see on your end, but we will drop it in the chat and we will think about it for a moment as individuals. And then what we're going to do is break up into small groups. The small groups, we're going to just do about 3 people. So it might not be exactly, it could be 3 to 4. And what we want to recommend everyone doing is, just practice active listening. And, listening to really understand, not just respond. And just be mindful of time. You'll have about 4 minutes each to talk about your reflection on this. And since this may be a space that you have not actually met the folks in this space, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself first and where you're coming from, and then kind of talk about, again, what's beginning to come to life for you right now, and what past experiences, values, or piece of wisdom might be helping to shape that.
So I'm going to drop something in the chat. Adam was mentioning this earlier. Our member activation shareback session will be held on Wednesday, June 24th at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're going to be discussing what did we learn from the member activation process this spring. So like a really great presentation, everyone, on what was gleaned from that process. What direction are we heading based on what we learned, and how you can help shape FSLN's next steps. So again, this is going to be on June 24th. Please mark your calendars, and if you can go ahead and register today by clicking the link in the chat. We also just want to touch about membership and being a part of this network and highlighting ways that you can be tapping in. So our monthly newsletter, the Cat List, did you catch it this month? If you did not, our next edition will be coming out very soon for May, and we want you to subscribe and be connected to FSLN, as well as the rest of the network. We highlight events, we highlight our partners, we talk about what's relevant and opportunities. So, wanting us all to continue with that. Next, our community of practice. So collaborate within our communities of practices. There are multiple options of communities of practice that you can be a part of, and we want you there. And that space is for you, curated by your fellow food systems leaders and partners across the country, with members from across the country that can share resources, share perspectives, as well as you guys can collaborate on work. And then lastly, connect with us on LinkedIn. If you are not currently following the Food Systems Leadership Network LinkedIn's page, please go ahead and do so. I saw that Alyssa and I's LinkedIn were dropped earlier. We can also share Susan's LinkedIn in the chat, and that way you can connect with us individually, but also we want you to stay connected with the network. And then Susan, if we can go to the next slide. And then with that, we want to thank you for joining um, our spring harvest hour. We're so excited to be here working with the Food Systems Leadership Network, and especially working with all of you as members, as well as if you are not currently a Food Systems Leadership Network member and you were invited to this call by a friend or a colleague, we encourage you to join the network and become a member. There is no fee to membership. And then with being a member, you get all the rights and privileges, and you get connected to this network. This is a big network, a vast network, and a network full of knowledge, as well as a very diverse network that we want you all to be connected to. And we hope that we can see you and connect with you in future meetings. Again, thank you all. Alyssa, if you have anything else to share, or Susan.
No, just thanks for showing up. Thanks for being part of this with us, and let's keep the conversation going.